If a major earthquake hits Los Angeles right now, your phone buzzes with a warning before the shaking even reaches you. If that same earthquake hits almost anywhere else in America, Salt Lake City, Memphis, Anchorage, your phone does nothing. Not because the earthquake is smaller, not because the danger is less real, because outside 3 states on the West Coast, America simply doesn't have an automated warning system at all. China does. Everywhere. And the gap between what happens next in each country isn't measured in seconds. It's measured in minutes. Here's exactly how that gap was built, and why it exists. Here's the headline version. China has completed its National Earthquake Early Warning Project. Nearly 16,000 monitoring stations spread across the entire country, feeding 3 national data centers, 31 provincial centers, and over 170 local release centers. It's the largest earthquake warning network ever built, anywhere, by any country. It can detect an earthquake as small as magnitude 2.5 almost anywhere in China, and in the most critical, densely populated zones, including the capital region and the Yangtze River Delta, it can issue a public warning within seconds of detection. America's system, called ShakeAlert, is real, and it genuinely works. But it exists in exactly 3 states: California, Oregon, and Washington. That's it. Roughly 50 million people are covered. The other roughly 285 million Americans, including people living directly on top of some of the most dangerous fault lines in the country, have no automated earthquake warning system protecting them at all. Let's get into the actual science, because this is where the 10 minutes comes from, and it's more interesting than a simple stopwatch comparison. Every earthquake produces 2 main types of seismic waves. The first wave to arrive, called the P wave, moves fast, but is relatively weak. It's often just a small jolt, easy to miss. The second wave, the S wave, arrives slightly later, but it's the one that actually shakes buildings and causes damage. Here's the trick every earthquake warning system on Earth exploits. Electronic signals travel through fiber optic cables and radio waves far faster than either of those seismic waves travel through solid rock. So if you can detect that first weak P wave the instant it happens, and fire off a digital alert at the speed of light, you can beat the slower, dangerous S wave to places farther from the epicenter, sometimes buying people just a few seconds, sometimes buying people up to a minute or 2 if they're far enough away. That's the part every EEW system does, China and America included. Where China's system pulls dramatically ahead is what happens next, system-wide, everywhere in the country, all the time. Because China's nearly 16,000 stations blanket the entire national territory. When an earthquake happens anywhere in China, coastal megacity or remote western province, the system doesn't just send a warning to the immediate area. It automatically calculates the earthquake's location, magnitude, and expected shaking intensity, and reports that full picture to national and provincial data centers within minutes, for every corner of the country, every time. There's no dead zone where officials, hospitals, or emergency planners are simply waiting in the dark for information. Now picture the American equivalent, outside the West Coast bubble. An earthquake hits, say, the New Madrid fault zone near Memphis, Tennessee, one of the most dangerous, most overdue fault systems in the country. There's no local network of thousands of sensors feeding a real-time warning system there. Instead, detection and reporting depend on USGS's broader National Seismic Network, which still does excellent scientific work, but wasn't built to deliver instant public alerts outside the ShakeAlert zone. Getting a confirmed magnitude, shake intensity map, and official public information out to the public and emergency responders in that scenario can take meaningfully longer. This is where you get real, measurable gaps of several minutes between the ground just moved and officials and the public actually know what happened and how bad it is. In China, That same process, detection, calculation, and nationwide intensity reporting, is designed to complete in minutes, everywhere, automatically, every single time. That's the honest, 10 minutes faster story. It's not that China's warning siren rings 10 minutes before the ground shakes. Nobody's system can do that anywhere on Earth. It's that China's system finishes the entire detect, calculate, report cycle, nationwide, in the time it takes many parts of America to even confirm an earthquake happened at all. But here's the question that actually matters. If the physics of earthquake warning is the same for every country on Earth, why does America, one of the richest, most technologically advanced nations in the world, still leave 85% of its population with zero automated protection? Let's be precise about why this gap exists, because it's not a story about American incompetence. It's a story about money, geography, and political will. ShakeAlert started as a prototype back in 2012. Public alerts didn't go live in California until 2019 and didn't reach Oregon and Washington until 2021. That's not because engineers couldn't figure out the technology. The underlying physics has been understood for decades. It's because building and maintaining a dense sensor network is expensive, and in America, earthquake risk is geographically concentrated. The West Coast sits on some of the most active fault lines in North America, so that's where the political funding and public urgency focused first. China made a different calculation. The country sits at the intersection of the Eurasian, Pacific, and Indian tectonic plates, and has experienced some of the deadliest earthquakes in modern history, including quakes that killed hundreds of thousands of people in the 20th century. That history created sustained, top-down national investment to build one unified system, covering the entire country at once, rather than a patchwork rolled out region by region over a decade, the way America has approached it. So here's the honest scoreboard. China. One integrated nationwide system. Nearly 16,000 stations. Seconds-level warning in critical zones. Minutes-level full reporting anywhere in the country. America. One regional system covering 3 states and about 50 million people, genuinely effective where it exists, but functionally absent everywhere else, including earthquake-prone regions like the New Madrid Zone, Alaska, and parts of the Intermountain West. China didn't just build a bigger system. It built a fundamentally more complete one. But here's why this actually matters far beyond bragging rights about sensor counts. Because the real question isn't which country built the bigger network. It's what happens to real people during the next big quake in the places nobody's watching. Because seconds and minutes aren't abstract numbers in this story. Earthquake researchers have measured, in real casualty data, exactly how many lives that gap actually costs. Here's the layer that turns this from a tech story into a human one. Earthquake safety researchers have found that just 3 seconds of warning can reduce casualties by around 14%. 10 seconds of warning pushes that reduction toward 39%. 20 seconds. Enough time to duck under a desk, step away from a window, or for a surgeon to pause a delicate procedure, can cut casualties by more than 60%. These aren't abstract percentages. They translate directly into how many people get seriously injured or die in a major earthquake, and how much critical infrastructure survives. Now think about what that means at national scale. In China, that seconds-level protection, plus minutes-level full reporting, is designed to reach essentially the entire country. High-speed rail lines that can automatically slow down, nuclear facilities that can trigger safety protocols, hospitals that can pause procedures, and ordinary citizens who get a phone alert, a TV interruption, or even a village loudspeaker warning before the shaking arrives. In America, that same protection currently exists for people in California, Oregon, and Washington, and effectively nowhere else. If a major earthquake struck the New Madrid fault zone tomorrow, a fault system capable of producing quakes strong enough to be felt across multiple states, as it did in the early 1800s, there is no automated system in place to give residents in Memphis, St. Louis, or Little Rock even a few seconds of warning. The infrastructure that could slow trains, pause surgeries, or alert emergency services in real time simply isn't built there yet. That's not a hypothetical gap. It's the current factual state of earthquake preparedness across roughly 85% of the U.S. population. And there's a broader pattern worth naming. This mirrors a story we've seen repeated across other infrastructure races: high-speed rail, 5G networks, renewable energy grids, where China's willingness to fund one unified national system from the top down has let it build faster and more completely than more fragmented, incrementally funded systems elsewhere. Earthquake warning is simply the latest, and arguably the most life-or-death example of that pattern. So is America planning to close this gap? And if so, how far away is that actually? The good news is that ShakeAlert isn't standing still. USGS and its partners have continued expanding the West Coast sensor network, and lawmakers have specifically requested continued federal funding, including a formal 2026 appropriations request for over $32 million dedicated to constructing, operating, and maintaining the system. Since ShakeAlert first went live, it has already generated alerts for numerous earthquakes above magnitude 4.5, with a strong track record of accuracy in the region it covers. But here's the honest roadmap. There is currently no comprehensive federal plan to build a ShakeAlert-style nationwide network covering earthquake-prone regions outside the West Coast, the way China has done for its entire country. Expansion talk in the U.S. tends to focus on strengthening the existing West Coast system, rather than extending equivalent coverage to places like the New Madrid zone or Alaska's fault systems. Meanwhile, China has stated its own system is still being refined further, with continued investment in monitoring density and faster reporting, building on a network that was already the largest on Earth the day it was finished. There's also a quieter, promising development worth mentioning. In some disaster scenarios where no official EEW system exists, like the recent Venezuela earthquakes, ordinary Android phones running Google's crowdsourced earthquake alert system, which uses phone accelerometers as makeshift sensors, have managed to give some people a few seconds or even minutes of warning, filling gaps where government systems don't reach. It's not a replacement for a dedicated national network, but it shows there's more than one path toward closing this exact gap. So let's put this all together, because both the China wins, America loses framing and the it's just sensor counts framing miss the real point. The dismissive take, America has ShakeAlert, this isn't a real gap, is technically true, but only for 3 states. For everyone else in earthquake country, from Tennessee to Alaska, that safety net simply doesn't exist yet. But the alarmist take, China's warning system beats America's by 10 minutes of shaking warning, isn't physically accurate either. And being honest about that actually makes the real story more impressive, not less. China didn't bend the laws of physics. It built the most complete, most consistently funded, most nationally unified earthquake monitoring network on Earth. And that completeness is exactly what turns a seconds-level physics trick into a genuinely life-saving, nationwide safety system. While America's version of the same technology remains a regional success story rather than a national one. That's the real headline underneath all of this. The technology gap between America and China isn't really about who understands earthquake physics better. It's about which country finished building the system it started. Let's bring this together. China has completed a nationwide earthquake early warning network of nearly 16,000 monitoring stations, capable of issuing public alerts within seconds in its most critical zones, and delivering full earthquake location, magnitude, and intensity reports anywhere in the country within minutes. America's equivalent system, ShakeAlert, is real, effective, and genuinely life-saving. For the roughly 50 million people living in California, Oregon, and Washington. Everyone else, the other 85% of the country, including some of the most dangerous fault zones in North America, currently has no automated warning system at all. Let's run through the numbers one more time. Nearly 16,000 monitoring stations covering one entire country. 3 states covered out of 50 in the other. 3 seconds of warning can cut casualties by 14%. 20 seconds can cut casualties by more than 60%. And in large parts of America, that number currently sits at 0 seconds. Not because the technology doesn't exist, but because the network was never built there. Individually, these are just facts about sensors and funding. Together, they describe exactly how much difference finishing what you start can make when the stakes are measured in human lives. We're going to keep tracking this story as ShakeAlert expansion talks continue, and as China keeps refining what's already the world's largest warning network. If this video helped you understand the real gap, not the exaggerated version, not the dismissive version, but the actual engineering and the actual stakes, hit subscribe, because this is exactly the kind of story that matters long after the headline fades. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.